Welcome to our Disneyland Deep Dive. We've got a great mix of sources this time. History, trivia, even a bit of controversy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to really uncover some fascinating stories about this iconic park.
Awesome.
Let's start with Walt Disney himself, his vision for this place.
Well, it's interesting, you think about Walt's idea, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. He was inspired by lots of things, like Henry Ford's museum,
Oh, wow.
Tivoli Gardens, even, remember the Chicago Railroad Fair?
Oh, sure, yeah.
All those things played a part.
I can see those influences now that you mention it, that blend of education and fun. Right? It's not just about rides.
Exactly, creating those immersive worlds.
So why a theme park at all? Wasn't the movie studio enough for him?
You see, Walt, he realized the studio wasn't that exciting for visitors.
Oh, I see.
He wanted to make his characters and stories really come alive in a way that a backlot just couldn't do.
Yeah.
So he dreamed up this place, where families could step right into Disney's world and make memories.
That's awesome. Okay, so how'd Disneyland end up in Anaheim? It's a bit far from Hollywood, isn't it?
Well, initially, Walt actually thought about Burbank, closer to the studios.
Oh, interesting.
But a feasibility study, this was led by Harrison Price. It pinpointed Anaheim as the perfect spot, all because of its projected population growth and how accessible it was.
I see.
Imagine Disneyland in Burbank, though, huh?
That's a wild thought, Disneyland and Burbank. It makes you wonder, what if?
Totally.
Anaheim's location and those freeways definitely helped Disneyland succeed. But building this massive park in just 1 year on a $17 million budget, that must have been incredibly tough.
Oh, building Disneyland was no easy feat. And that opening day, Black Sunday, ooh, talk about challenges.
Yeah.
Heat, plumbing issues, people sneaking in with fake tickets, way too many people. It was a mess.
I'm surprised they even opened the gates that day.
I know, right?
I heard there were some pretty funny things that happened during the live TV broadcast, too.
Oh, tons. Like Bob Cummings, he just plants a kiss on a dancer live on TV.
No way.
And those microphones, they kept shorting out because of the new asphalt they just laid down.
That's hilarious. So Disneyland barely survived that first day, but it did. And how it's changed over the decades is just amazing.
It really is.
Like in '66, adding New Orleans Square, that really captured Walt's love for that city, the vibe, the buildings.
Oh, absolutely.
And then jumping to 2019, you have Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge. Talk about pushing the limits of what a theme park can be.
Oh, yeah. And remember when they turned Bear Country into Critter Country? That's when we got Splash Mountain.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Such a clever ride. Storytelling, music, those drops.
It's so good. I was surprised to learn that even the Mickey and Friends parking structure played a part in Disneyland's growth.
Oh, yeah. When they finished it back in 2000, it was the biggest parking structure in the whole U.S. Shows how popular Disneyland was.
Makes sense.
They needed something huge to handle all those guests. More parking, more people experiencing the magic.
It's funny how even the parking is impressive at Disneyland. But let's be real, amidst all the fun and fantasy, Disneyland has had its fair share of controversy.
That's true.
Cold War tensions, anti-war protests. It's often been a mirror to the anxieties and debates of the times.
It has.
Yeah.
Like in 1959, you had Khrushchev, the Soviet premier, and he was denied entry.
Really?
Yep. Cold War fears. Suddenly, Disneyland was a symbol of America.
I can't picture Khrushchev in a Mickey Mouse hat. But it does show you what the political climate was like back then.
Absolutely. Then a decade later, in 1970, Disneyland's facing the Yippies, those anti-war protesters.
Huh.
To them, Disneyland represented American commercialism, so they staged a demonstration.
Wow.
This clash, between Disneyland's perfect image and the Vietnam War happening, it sparked a debate. People started questioning Disneyland's role in a changing society.
It's a reminder that even a place built for escape can't completely ignore the real world.
You got it. And these events raised some big questions. Entertainment, social responsibility, freedom of speech. Disneyland's got to deal with these things as it grows.
Right. And we can't forget about the criticism around diversity, especially in the early years.
Yeah, it's true. While Disneyland was never segregated, there were definitely criticisms about the lack of African-American employees back then.
It's important to acknowledge those shortcomings and see how Disneyland's evolved in terms of diversity and inclusion.
For sure. Progress takes time.
Absolutely. And it's crucial to keep pushing for more representation and equality, not just in theme parks, but everywhere.
Agreed. Okay, but now let's shift gears for a second. Let's dive into some fun facts and trivia.
Yes. What have you got?
Did you know Doritos were invented at Disneyland?
No way.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Back then, the Casa de Fritos restaurant had all these extra tortillas.
Oh,
So they decided, hey, let's fry them up, add some seasoning, boom, Doritos.
that's incredible.
Proves you how innovative they were, even with snacks.
I'll never look at Doritos the same way again. Okay, what else?
All right, how about this? In 1985, to celebrate Disneyland's 30th, they released 1 million balloons.
1 million! Seriously?
Yep, Skyfest celebration. Can you imagine that?
That must have been quite a sight.
Talk about capturing the spirit of Disneyland. And then there was the Give a Day, Get a Disney Day program in 2010. People volunteered their time for a free day at the park.
Oh, wow. That's a great initiative. Fun and giving back.
Exactly. Disneyland using its influence for good.
Okay, let's fast forward to some recent developments. The COVID-19 pandemic, as you can imagine, had a huge impact on Disneyland. Closures, phased reopening, the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, rough times.
Yeah.
But Disneyland's tough. It's back in action now.
Absolutely. And looking ahead, there's a lot of excitement about the Disneyland Forward expansion plans.
Disneyland Forward, that's a big long-term plan, right?
It is. Think of it as Disneyland getting ready for a major upgrade.
I like that.
It's not just about adding more stuff. It's about reimagining the park's layout and how people move through it. How so?
One focus is blurring the lines between the different lands. Like, imagine walking seamlessly from Fantasyland into a redesigned Toontown.
That'd be cool.
Right. And they're looking at how to use space better within the park. Maybe adding multi-level experiences, kind of like they did with Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge.
Makes sense.
Increase capacity, tell new stories, always pushing boundaries, like with the first official Pride Night in 2023.
Oh, yeah, that was a big deal.
Especially considering some of the criticism Disneyland's faced about diversity.
Absolutely. It shows how the park's changing and becoming more inclusive for everyone.
Definitely. You know, there was even some talk online about a male employee dressed as the fairy godmother's apprentice at the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It sparked conversations about gender roles and representation. It's interesting how Disneyland often reflects what's happening in society.
Totally. It's like a microcosm, both the good and the bad. And speaking of challenges, we can't forget the character performers unionizing in 2024.
That was a landmark moment for sure. The first time those cast members unionized since opening day.
Wow.
It highlighted how important fair pay and workers' rights are, even in a magical place like Disneyland.
It's a reminder that behind those smiles and costumes are real people working hard to make the magic happen.
You said it. And then, of course, Disneyland was a big part of the Walt Disney Company's 100th anniversary in 2023.
Disney 100, what a celebration.
It really was. They introduced Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, a brand new attraction.
I heard it was great.
Oh, it is. It's like stepping right into a cartoon. Classic Disney charm with awesome technology.
Perfect combination.
And the new fireworks show, Wondrous Journeys.
Yeah.
Spectacular. Pure Disney magic.
A century after Walt first had this vision, Disneyland is still enchanting people all over the world.
It really is something.
We've covered so much already. History, changes, the future.
It's been a trip through time, seeing how this cultural icon has evolved.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's your take on what makes Disneyland so special?
I think it's that sense of wonder and nostalgia it evokes. It's a place to escape the ordinary and dive into stories and experiences that fire up our imagination.
It reminds us that no matter how old we get, there's always room for magic and wonder in our lives.
Exactly. Disneyland's that timeless escape. Families make memories, reconnect with that childhood joy. It's pretty special.
I agree. You've captured it perfectly. A place where dreams take flight, fantasy meets reality, and imagination thrives.
And even after all these years, it keeps surprising us.
Well, this part of our Disneyland journey has come to an end, but the magic doesn't have to stop here.
Here's a thought for everyone. If Disneyland is a reflection of our collective imagination, what does it say about us that we've created a place where the impossible feels possible?
That's a great question to think about. Before the break, we were talking about Disneyland Forward, that huge expansion plan.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's not just chucking in a new ride here and there.
Right.
It's really about rethinking how the whole park works, how people experience it.
So how are they going to do that? What's in this Disneyland Forward thing?
One big idea is to kind of blur the lines between those different lands.
No.
Like, imagine walking from Fantasyland right into a whole new Toontown, no hard stops.
Yeah, ditcha.
It all flows together.
Yeah.
And they're looking at using space better, too.
Yeah.
Maybe multi-level stuff like they did with Star Wars.
Smart.
More people, new ways to tell stories, always innovating. Speaking of which, That Pride Night back in '23, that was a statement,
It was.
especially after those criticisms about diversity in the past. Disneyland's showing its commitment to being welcoming to everyone.
Yeah, definitely. Remember that whole online discussion about the guy dressed as the fairy godmother's apprentice?
Oh yeah, the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique.
That's the one. It really got people talking about gender and representation.
This is Disneyland for you, reflecting what's happening out in the world. It's got to navigate all that stuff.
It's like a miniature version of society, the celebrations and the challenges.
For sure.
Speaking of challenges, we can't skip over the character performers unionizing in 24.
That was a big moment in Disneyland history. First time those cast members unionized since the park opened.
Wow, really?
It showed that even in a place like Disneyland, fair pay and workers' rights matter.
Behind the smiles and costumes are real people making the magic happen.
Absolutely. Their work needs to be valued. And speaking of big moments, Disneyland was front and center for the whole Disney 100 celebration.
Disney 100, what a year.
They opened Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Have you been on it?
Not yet, but I've heard good things.
It's like hopping right into a cartoon. Classic Disney with amazing tech.
That's what they do best.
And the fireworks, wondrous journeys, out of this world. Pure Disney magic.
Disneyland sure knows how to throw a party. 100 years after Walt's dream, it's still captivating everyone.
It's incredible, isn't it?
From those early days to this huge future ahead.
What a journey. This cultural icon keeps evolving.
Before we move on, what's your final thought on what makes Disneyland so special, so enduring?
I think it's the power of storytelling. It's more than just rides.
Right.
It's where those stories come to life, where you escape into worlds of imagination, connect with characters we all know and love.
It's the stories that stick with you even after you leave. Those tales of adventure, love, overcoming obstacles, they make you want to dream bigger, believe in the magic.
You got it. Disneyland reminds us that everyone has a story, and our imaginations can shape the world.
Well said. Dreams taking flight, fantasy and reality blurring together, imagination running wild, that's Disneyland.
And it just keeps going, keeps changing, keeps amazing us.
Our Disneyland journey has to end sometime, but the magic doesn't stop here. What do you think?
Here's something to ponder. If Disneyland is our collective imagination come to life, what does it say about us that we've built a place where impossible things feel possible?
That's a great question. We've explored the history, the controversies, the hidden gems, and the future of Disneyland.
It's been quite the deep dive.
Even though our time here is done, the magic of Disneyland lives on. Keep exploring, keep wondering, keep discovering the amazing things waiting inside this incredible park. Thanks for joining us. As we wrap up our Disneyland deep dive, I'm thinking about the park's impact. It's got to be bigger than just entertainment, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Disneyland's influence goes way beyond the park itself. It's changed how we design buildings, tell stories, even how we think about immersive experiences.
We talked about some of the tough stuff Disneyland's faced, the controversies and criticisms. You think those things have actually made its legacy stronger?
You know, I think they have. By facing those social and cultural issues head on, it shows that Disneyland's willing to change and adapt.
Yeah.
It's not stuck in the past. It's a living, breathing reflection of what we dream about, what we want.
Disneyland's always been this melting pot of innovation and imagination. Where do you see it going next? What new kinds of entertainment could it create?
That's a great question. I think we'll see them pushing even further with immersive technology, maybe incorporating augmented reality, virtual reality, that kind of thing, to make it even more personal, more interactive.
Imagine stepping into a world where you can't tell what's real and what's fantasy, talking to holographic characters, going on quests tailored just for you.
Exactly. And I think sustainability will be huge for Disneyland going forward.
Makes sense.
They've already started reducing their environmental impact. I bet we'll see them do even more in the years to come.
Disneyland being a leader in protecting the environment. I like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as technology gets better, who knows? Maybe they'll explore new energy sources, come up with super innovative ways to handle waste, all within the park.
That's exciting to think about. As we finish up, what's your final thought on what makes Disneyland so timeless? What keeps people coming back, no matter their age or where they're from?
For me, it's the power of stories. Disneyland isn't just a bunch of rides and shows.
Right.
It's where those stories jump out of the screen, where you can live inside them. Connect with characters that feel like old friends.
You're so right. It's the stories that stick with you long after you've gone home. Those tales of adventure, love, beating the odds. They remind you to dream big, to believe in the magic.
That's it. Disneyland shows us that everyone's got a story to tell, And our imaginations are powerful. We can make a difference.
Well said. So, our Disneyland adventure comes to an end here, but the magic's still out there.
It is.
We've dug into its past, faced its controversies, found its hidden treasures, and imagined its future. We hope you enjoyed the ride.
It's been great sharing this with everyone.
And remember, even though our deep dive is over, the magic of Disneyland lives on. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep discovering the amazing things waiting inside this incredible park. Thanks for joining us.